Okay, so this is biohacking seminar. Welcome. My name is Chris. And so the premise is basically the body is always reacting to what you're thinking about. The body's always reacting to what you're saying to yourself. You know this if like you're about to fall asleep and you're about to dream and you kick and wake yourself up and you react to the dream. And your body couldn't tell the difference between a subconscious imagining or if you're just daydreaming. Have you ever been daydreaming and you reacted to your daydream? Like your body physically reacted, you clinched or a pleasure, you could think of a pleasurable thing and your body will just naturally react to it. It's always reacting to what you're thinking about. It's indiscriminate like that. And so a lot of the time, your mood or emotions or attitude, you're reacting to something that's internally happening in the mind, a movie, a picture, some sounds, maybe some words, which is a picture. And the path of yoga or the evolution needs to go inwards to be aware at all moments, really. Because most of your mind, what's filled in it is only what you've been exposed to throughout your life, the senses. Your mind is filled. If you were deaf your whole life, you'd have no sounds in your mind. If you were blind your whole life, you'd have no pictures in your mind. Your mind is only filled with the sense perceptions of the past. And most of that you weren't in control of. Just think 12 years of public school. You're not choosing what you're being told, and you're not choosing how the teacher is talking to you, and you're not choosing all the peer pressures and everything. You're being filled with a lot of sensory experiences that you aren't choosing. For me, growing up a lot with sports and television and video games and things, you go to college for another 12 years, I have a PhD, and most of the day, most of the time, we're not being very selective of what we're allowing our mind to get filled with, but we're still reacting to it. So for true independence and freedom from the mind, because that's really what most of us were enslaved to our mind, we need to become aware of the inner movie and the inner self-talk. And the process for that is, one, just talking about it. The more you talk about the images of the mind, and the mind is something separate from you, that you're able to observe your mind, and the mind is between you and reality, that right here, you're not really listening to me, you're listening to your mind that's listening to me. You're not really seeing me, your mind is seeing me, and you're looking at your own mind seeing me. And the mind is the thing that's between you and me. But you also have a mind that's between, so it's really my mind is interacting with your mind, and we are behind both of our minds. And that's a yoga awareness, that you have a seer behind your mind, and you are the seer. The mind is something that can be programmed, the seer is not. Okay. So we start with just like a little bit of awareness that there's the mind. So then the mechanical process for doing this kind of biohacking, a lot of biohacking stuff, Joe Dispenza and all these people, and anytime you can hack your biology with ketosis and all of these things, my angle is internal communication and influencing your emotions and mood through how you talk to yourself. To do that, we start with some breath work. Just heavy breathing, holding your breath. Open and close your blood vessels inside so that you can kind of clean your system without having to do too much physical activity. Too much physical activity engages your nervous system, and it makes it hard to listen internally until you got to ultimately calm down from that. And then, probably in a reverse order, I'll show you how to isolate the nerve, the breathing nerve, which is the vagus nerve, that goes down and innervates your diaphragm. It's really important because we'll get into it. We're talking about the subconscious. Breathing is one of those things that it happens anyway. That if you went your whole life, they say you breathe 20,000 times a day, so 300 days a year, you do the math. It's a lot of breaths that you take your life. And it's possible to be born, live, grow old, die, and never, ever take a conscious breath. That you could go your whole life and never focus on your breathing. And there's been a lot of people that have. Most people probably have never thought, maybe they just once or twice in their life, just take a deep breath. Like that was one breath out of 20,000 breaths that day. The breathing is happening anyway. But you seem to be able to also make it longer, make it shorter, change your breath, hold your breath. You can intervene on this thing that would happen automatically. So it's at a gateway between the subconscious activities that would take care of themselves and conscious activities. So when you start hacking your breathing, you start going deeper into other autonomic processes like eye blinking, like heart beating, like sweating, like urination, like a lot of things that in chronic muscle tension. There's a lot of things happening in the body, that salivation, that you can actually control just as much as breathing. But breathing is the easiest. So you go in and then so I'll show you how to isolate the vagus nerve, which is the breathing nerve. It's going to improve your ability to communicate with your subconscious. And then I'll teach you a couple processes, some things to say to yourself. You'll notice how your emotions will change when we do some of these processes. A gratitude process, kind of a self-compassion process. A process meaning it's a step 1, step 2, step 3, repeat. So it's a process. Like a sun salutation is a process to salute the sun. Okay. And then some of the pictures, I spell out a process here of talking to your hormone glands. I should have an image of the diaphragm so we can more easily visualize it. It's really cool to visualize parts in your own body that actually exist, because visualization is imagination. You're just pretending. But it's actually a real muscle that exists there. So it's bringing your imagination in tune with what's actually happening, mind-body.